Hi, my name is Jacob Woods, Geography 322 of the spring 2021 semester. Um, I did my paper on the Wisconsin Walleye War in regards to Ojibwe treaty rights. The treaty rights of the Ojibwe people has been a widely disputed conversation, especially in regard to walleye spearing in northern Wisconsin. The primary reasoning behind the restriction of treaty rights can be linked to the systematic racism and oppression that can be seen in other indigenous topics. Previous research states that there is an underlying systematic scheme of restricting the rights of indigenous culture with the goal of appropriation. Data was collected from Ojibwe literature from individuals with first-hand experience as well as government documents with official rulings from the Supreme Court. Statements from both forms of literature reviewed to find an overwhelmingly positive correlation in results of treaty right removal and racism. Criticism of the media was also analyzed, and it was found that the perspectives of those involved in the Walleye War were against spearing as well as the Ojibwe tribe as a whole. So my objective and research question was to find out the reasoning behind the removal of treaty rights from the Ojibwe people for a period of time by the state. I wanted to analyze the question the impact of the media on spearfishing, and I wanted to critically analyze the protests and anti-treaty groups that came about to oppose spearing, as well as the groups who came about to oppose the anti-treaty protesters. So there was an array of information to be analyzed throughout the whole idea of walleye spearing, and it wasn't just focused on the spearing itself. So the methodology used to analyze the topic was to use indigenous and non-indigenous sources to help understand both perspectives and create a fuller dynamic of the issue. American Indian Quarterly was used, as well as the Milwaukee Public Museum, both full of information from different perspectives. The official court cases viewed, State versus Morin, was viewed on the government official website with official rulings and statements made in the case. And then federal government literature and Wisconsin DNR statements were also used, and that's just the official aspect between that and the court cases to fully encompass all aspects of the topic. So upon completing the paper and the study, the results I found were that the media had a very negative impact on the Ojibwe tribe in regards to spearfishing and how they were viewed by the general public as a whole. TV media and newspaper articles portrayed them as slaughterers of fish with no regard to regulations or limits, which was simply not the case. They also stated that they were just granted the right to fish as much as they wanted, which wasn't true. These rights were established in the 1837 and 1842 land cessions. The state played a huge factor in the issue as well. They wished to manipulate and remove treaty rights of the Ojibwe people. Racism and prejudice are still strong in northern Wisconsin in regards to spearfishing in the Ojibwe tribe, and that is something that is embedded in the people up north just due to the very recent or relatively recent walleye war that occurred. And the Ojibwe are still practicing spearfishing and their treaty rights after the state granted them full rights again in the late 90s. So in conclusion, some of the takeaways I had from the project was that I had a further understanding of a pretty local issue to me. We're only an hour and a half away from where these events took place and we're based out of. So, it does kind of pertain to everyone in Wisconsin. And it also pertains to me personally because I fish in the area up north quite often, and I have talked to the Ojibwe tribal members about their fishing practices and how it benefits their community before at boat landings and whatnot. So that does pertain to me, and it was interesting to learn something that I didn't have much experience on. One of the primary drawbacks was the amount of information one could dive into in regards to the topic. This dates all the way back to 1837. So, you could pick apart the time frame between 1837 and the current day pretty in depth and analyze all the court cases and proceedings and hearings that occurred, as well as all the racial segregation and allegations from the state and the media. So, there is a very large amount of information, and in the project, it seemed as if the surface was touched, but just enough the surface to make sure the topic was displayed correctly and intricately enough for people who didn't know anything about the topic to understand. So here are my sources. The American Indian Quarterly, After the Storm by Patty Lowe and James Thanem, was a very useful article in the whole process. The case law study of State versus Morin was also extremely useful. And the video that a lot of people have seen about the way Ojibwe life on spearfishing, it has been shown before, and it is an awesome video that helped me as well. So, yep, thank you.